Okay, we're going to go ahead and call the Legislative Committee meeting for February 5th to order, please. We're calling the meeting to order, please. Okay. I want to make sure everyone knows our new citizen representative, Miss Shawanda Pettigrew. She was here last month, but a lot of people weren't here last month. So she's our new committee member, and we're excited to have her join as a citizen representative. Okay. Next up on the agenda is our approval of the minutes from December 4th. And if there's no objections, we're going to go ahead and approve. Okay. Next up, we have a couple of appointments. Let's see. So let's go ahead and start with our reappointment to the Downtown Development Authority, Mr. Richard Hensel. If you can come on up.
Thank you. Well, my name is Richard Hensel. I live at 755 Pipestone Street, and I've been there on that block for 40 years. And during that time, I've become, very familiar with a lot of things going on in Benton Harbor, and observed Benton Harbor's part of Benton Harbor's decline up close, along with its rebounding, especially the downtown area. I had a business on Water Street for a number of years, and was one of the founders of the Arts Association, which at the time its mission was to revitalize the Arts District and to promote its revitalization. So that was all based on a city program called Community Renewal Through the Arts. So having had that involvement in the 90s and before, I felt it was important to get involved again when I saw that things kind of had stopped moving. So I volunteered for a year to go to meetings, not as a member, but to observe what was going on. And I was appointed then. After that year, I asked to be appointed. So I was elected president shortly after that. And I've been pretty involved in lots of things for, I think it's 9 years. Sorry, I'm out of breath. So that's kind of how I came to be where I am. And there are lots of things that are underway that I'd like to continue to work on.
Shawana, did you have any comments?
No, I don't.
So I'm really excited that you are seeking reappointment. You're my neighbor, and I know you love the city of Benton Harbor, and I think you'll continue to do great things. And I definitely want to move you forward to the full commission.
Great.
And thank you for
Thank
all
you.
of your work.
Can I take just a second? I know that this is kind of hard to see, so I'll hand it to pass around. You like? Oh, thank you. So that's a rendering of a concept for the State Theater's restoration, and that is one of our major projects. And we are underway, and it represents more than a $500,000 gift to the city of Benton Harbor as the building was given to us, and along with the seed money and state of Michigan money for planning, it's over $500,000. So It's an exciting time to be part of the Downtown Development Authority and to take on a project like this that will, we hope, spark further improvements downtown by generating activity that will benefit the existing businesses and maybe draw some new ones. One of the components of this project will also be 4 apartments as we develop the annex. And so that we hope can help meet the city's target. I mean, just a small step in meeting the city's target of 188 units of housing per year until 2030. So got a ways to go yet. But we'll try to do our part.
Sorry. If you want to have the audience take a look at that, that's a really cool
Sure.
rendering.
All right. You can. There are more documents to share, but this isn't the meeting for that. And I'd be glad to come back another time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have Daryl Jackson here? Oh, perfect. So next up is our reappointment to the Dollaride Board, Mr. Daryl Jackson.
Good evening.
Okay, and if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be reappointed to the Dollaride Board, that would be great.
I'm Daryl Jackson, Ben Harbor. I would like to be reappointed to this Dollaride Board because for one reason, this board was the Dollaride Board was in chaos itself. Not only that, the employees was in chaos. But by me being on the board for a year now, things have got better with the group that we have, existing group we have now. A lot of things been straightened out. They got insurance again. The new director that we hired, he's doing an outstanding job. We meet with him when he needs us to meet. Other than the meeting, the employees is straightened out as well. And I feel as though that I had made a significant justice there with those new board members and with the crew that the new director have. Also, that's not the only board. I'm on the cemetery board. It also had a lot of problems as well. With the help of Mr. Little, I got some things straightened out myself. There was a lot of graffiti and decorations out there in the graveyard in the front, as well as in the back. And as we speak now, there's none of that in the front. Honest Credit Union is happy that something was done about it. And I'm delighted that also that there's no more dumping. I work with Benton Township Police Department, and that's how that problem got solved. Also, I'm on another board. It's the Construction Board of Appeals, which we has not yet met yet. When, I don't know. I've been wondering about that board. But the one that I am very glad that I was able to, for you all to put me on the board was the Cemetery Board and the Dollaride Board. The Dollaride Board, with that board, looks like we got a chance for Dollaride to kind of stay in place with us. So I appreciate that.
Do you have anything, Ms. Shawanda?
Yes, so how long were you on the Dollaride Board?
It's only a year appointment, so I've been there a year.
So you definitely seem to be up for the challenge. Dollaride Board and also Cemetery Board, and you made some great strides. So I want to commend you for that. That's great work. And I don't know if anyone else had any comments, but I definitely want to move this forward to the full commission.
One last thing to say, as long as we have city manager, Mr. Little, involved in it. We're gonna we'll make an effort to get everything cleaned up in that graveyard. He's been a very big help to us.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you for your service. We appreciate it. The
Thank
city
you.
appreciates it. Okay, so next up, we have the reappointment to the Dollaride Board, Commissioner Ron Singleton. You could tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be reappointed to the Dollaride Board.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Commissioner Ron Singleton. Served on City Commission probably going on 10 years now, I think. Time went by quick. Did several other things with the city. Too long we need a whole meeting to list those. But reappointment to the Dollaride Board, when we came on last year, Dollaride was in some pretty tough situations. Matter of fact, we didn't even know that we were going to be able to keep going. It was like down to the last hour getting insurance because of some of the things that had been happening. We had got in, it fell out with the city's, well, not city, the Takata's, what they call it, the motor pool insurance. And they basically dropped us, gave us a 30-day notice. And if we didn't get any insurance after that, pretty much would have been the end of Dollaride. But we was able to pull that off, dealing with a lot of the issues that was going on there. We think we got pretty much handled on that. So the internal stuff is being taken care of. Externally, things have changed. The urbanization map has changed with the state and federal government. So they're asking now that they read you the maps that we need to also serve along the I-94 corridor from here to New Buffalo. And that's definitely a challenge because we were putting out the fires on the other end, but with the staff that we have, we're working on that and being able to meet that requirement. As you know, 80% of the funding from Dollaride comes from the federal government, almost 20% from state, and then the local match through the millage. So without the federal money, we wouldn't be able to operate. Without state money, we wouldn't be able to operate. And also with the millage, we wouldn't either. But, so we need all three of them. So it's been a challenge, and I think we've provided the leadership from a board standpoint, working with the staff and the interim director to get a lot of those problems straightened out, get the FTA, Federal Transit Authority, off our backs, and so we just got to keep the ball rolling to keep those services here. It's definitely, you'd be surprised how many people use the service, and so I think it's really essential. And if it wasn't here, it would probably have some catastrophic effect to people moving about around here. So I'm signing up for another year, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Shawana, do you have any comments?
No, I don't.
Okay, so I think we all kind of heard about the insurance issue on the news.
Yes.
So I'm glad you guys were able to get that settled. And sounds like the new requirements to get to New Buffalo is going to be a challenge, but I know you guys can work together and figure something out. Because I do feel like I agree the last year has been a huge improvement. So I want to commend you for that, and I definitely want to send your reappointment to the full commission.
Thank you.
And we appreciate your service. So I just want to make sure no one else came in. Virgil, Hatcher, or Spencer didn't come in, right? Nope. Nope. Okay. So we are complete with the appointments. We're going to go ahead and move on. We have no unfinished business. We're going to move on to our new business. And first up, we have the resolution approving membership and participation in the Harbor Authority. Mr. Little.
This Harbor Authority agreement, I was hoping I would be able to, I was hoping I would be able to get a picture up where I could show it on the screen and explain it, but for some reason, I'm not able to reach the drive that the harbor is on. But you've got in your packet this drawing here of the harbor. To briefly explain before it gets started, from just past Pier 1000 and north going toward the I-94 bridge to the mouth of the river going into Lake Michigan is generally navigable. You have from the mouth going into Lake Michigan back to about where the Coast Guard station is on the river is considered the outer harbor. From the Coast Guard station up to about where the Main Street Bridge is considered the inner harbor. Both the inner and outer harbor are a commercial harbor. That's where the big ships and so forth come in, bringing rocks, salt, all kind of things to unload on the piles there and so forth. Now, when you come past the bridge in Main Street up to just past Pier 1000, that's the more recreational harbor. Smaller boats, sailboats you see going that the bridge lifts up to let through, and boats out of the St. Joe Marina, out of Pier 1000, the small marina that's the city has there, and the boat launch. If you look at this picture, you'll see where you've got like a double red line, almost like a street that's showing where the deeper part of the harbor is. Boats with, if you're talking, say, anywhere from an 18 to 30, 40-foot boat, you've got a significant draft underneath, and it has to be in the deeper part of the river. A lot of the rivers you go across in some places. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm showing a waving man. As you go across, there's some places there you can almost walk across. But the part that's navigable has to be kept open to a certain depth in order for boats and so forth to be able to go through there. The federal part of the harbor, the inner and outer harbor down where the commercial traffic is, the Corps of Engineers maintain that and it's normally paid for by the federal government. The part from Main Street back up toward Pier 1000 is typically the responsibility. In the past, the county has paid to help keep it open. They've collected some revenues from the marinas and owners that have to use it and so forth. And what is occurring here is that the county has said they cannot continue to do this St. Joe City, Benton Harbor, and St. Joe Township, which, where Pier 1000 in St. Joe Township comes down to where the boat launch and from Empire Avenue down past the boat launch and the marina that's there on Riverview Drive. Right in that area, there's a lot of silting that goes on every year and starts to bring it up to where even smaller boats going through the propellers start throwing up mud because it's so narrow there. It has to be dredged out also. What's being proposed here is to form a harbor authority between the cities of St. Joe and Benton Harbor and St. Joe Township, in which we, as an authority, they would have a couple of representatives from each unit on this board. This board would have the ability to set up a taxing jurisdiction just for the property owners, people who own property bordering on the river. And those are the people who typically, like the marinas and the boat launch and so forth, would be the beneficiaries because it's their boats and the people that rent slips from them and so forth that have to get through there. They would see a certain portion go toward, perhaps I shouldn't say as it's needed, to go toward the dredging that has to take place in this portion of the recreational harbor there that has to go on. Steps have been taken in terms of the draft here, and we really want you to kind of read through it so you and make sure you understand it. I'll be happy to answer any questions anybody has. But what we want to do is make sure everybody understands that this authority would have no power to do anything with anybody's zoning or to change anything without the approval of the jurisdiction that's involved. So that's basically what this harbor authority is about. We anticipate that for this year, if there's any dredging to take place, it probably is going to have to be done through a collection of those property owners where they just do it themselves. But after this year, we would anticipate setting up what's called a special assessment district, where on the jurisdiction on each side of the river that has property along the edges, those persons would pay a certain amount into it that would be used to handle dredging if in fact all of the communities agree to it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Little, and I think you gave us a lot of clarity. But I did have a few questions. So you mentioned that the 3 communities that would make up the board. Did you tell us how many people from each community?
It'd be 2 each on the board.
Okay. And you did mention special assessment, which is mandatory. And I was just wondering, will these property owners, will it be a set amount for everybody? For example, the fee divided by every property owner? Or will it be a formula, kind of like if you owned a home and based on your square footage? Or is it just basically if I have 30 owners, we're going to divide it by 30? Or is it like a formula where everyone would pay a different amount based on the square footage or how many docks they owned or that kind of thing?
And the linear footage they have along the riverfront. That's how most special assessment districts are set.
All right. And then Ms. Shawana, did you have anything?
No, actually, you was just still reading through it, but you cleared up some stuff.
Okay. Does anyone else have any comments or questions for Mr. Little? Right. Commissioner Henry. I'm so shocked.
Commissioner, I have something then as well.
Well, I heard you say that each municipality will have 2 members okay. I've always tried to figure out how much land Benton Harbor owns on the river and where it's located. So, is it any way that you could provide that and show us on the map where Benton Harbor property is? I see that there's a document in there talking about the value of the land. And that is very interesting because St. Joe and St. Joe Township and Benton Harbor are very close in the value. I think Benton Harbor might be a little less than all of them, but I just personally want to hear, because the document is huge and some of it I didn't understand. And so I would like to make sure that our attorney looks at it. I'd hate to see the authority take any authority from Benton Harbor, and because I know the airport was an authority and it turned out to be a bad do for Benton Harbor. So I just want to make sure that we are going to be in a position of power that we don't have to pay more, do more, or have less opinion about it, input on it.
Well, that's the thing that we made sure of, that no community is disadvantaged in the way this is structured. And the communities, like the city commission, would have to agree to whatever the proposal is that's being initiated, so that there's no hidden anything that could take place. In answer to your question, and I think it's probably more meaningful described verbally, Benton, you asked property that Benton Harbor owns. Benton Harbor owns Yarborough Park. That's from there where Empire comes down the hill, down to the boat launch. The boat launch is owned by the state. Right next to the boat launch, where the marina is, that's owned by an association of those slip owners, and they would have to pay on a basis there. The property that goes beyond there down to where Chase Bank's property is, right now I believe that's owned by Cornerstone. Chase Bank is from where Brenton comes down the hill to the other side where Fisherman's Park starts. That park is owned by the city, and that goes up to the Main Street Bridge. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Nothing on the other side.
Which other side?
Other side of the bridge.
No, the other side of the bridge, that is the island that's part of St. Joe. And the only thing we have on there is the proportional ownership in the wastewater treatment plant.
No, I don't mean. I mean on the other side of the Blossom Bridge. We don't own any property. On the other side of Whirlpool, do we own any property on that side of Main Street?
No, I
You
don't
don't.
think you do. No.
Okay. Did we used to?
I don't think so, because if you recall, the dividing line kind of went with the Pawpaw River. And the stuff on the other side of the Pawpaw River was St. Joe.
The St. Joe. Thank you, Kevin.
All right, Director Kay.
Yes, this authority is actually something myself and Deputy Director Clark have been asking for a while now. We are not eligible for any port security grants, which are extremely important due to the 75 freighters that come in and out of our harbor every year. And the Harbor Authority makes us eligible for those grants. So this would be big. One of the ships that comes in and out of here actually caught fire yesterday in port in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. So, I mean, it's something that would help us prepare greatly.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay, so I'm going to, Mr. Duncan.
Just waiting to see if somebody else wanted. Question, how deep are they gonna dredge the river?
I don't want to try and answer that because I'm not certain, but I know from some of the discussions, we've been talking about having at least a clearance of 7 to 12 or 14 feet for some of the boats coming through. But I don't want to bank on that because I don't know the exact figures.
Okay. Do you know when the last time the St. Joe River was dredged?
I believe it's been,
What year?
well, now, and also keep in mind now when we're saying St. Joe River, there's a difference between the inner and outer harbor, which they come in and do sometimes yearly and sometimes every other year or so. But the part up where we're talking about now, I believe the last time was probably a couple of years ago, and I'm not certain.
Do you know how deep it was supposed to be then? When they finished?
I don't, but I know it was deep enough that the traffic was able to move through it fairly easily. See, what happens is when, as you have the lake level going up and down, and then the storm events coming through, sometimes trees get stuck in that as it's going down through there and starts to grab everything coming through and helps build up the silt and so forth in there.
I was born on the river, so I know everything you're talking about. I also remember the last time they dredged the river, and they said it would be 6.5 feet deep. And I know for a fact that it never got to be 6.5 feet. Pretty much at any part of the river. So that's why I'll be asking the same question later on too, especially after they finish, because I'd like to see you guys know for a fact that it's as deep as they say it is. Or as deep as they said they were gonna make it.
I'll be getting that information for you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, does anyone else have anything? Because if not, we're going to go ahead and move this forward to the full commission.
One other
Oh.
question about the finance. Is there a string of revenue that we can count on taking care of this, our portion of it?
It will come from the property owners that have property abutting on to the river. It won't, regular taxpayers in the city won't pay anything toward it. It's strictly the beneficiaries up and down the river.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you, Mr. Little. We're going to go ahead and move this to the full commission, and we're going to move on to point number 2 under new business, discussion regarding building and permit fee schedules. That would be.
I'm the opening act. Do you have, committee, do you have this report, should say adoption of UBC Uniform Building Code Fee Schedule? And clerk, if you can, before we actually post this on the website, I know it's another mistake on there. It's just City Alex Little, and just change it to manager. Okay, so just to kind of recap, so this is the Division of Code Compliance is submitting the following agenda items to be considered at the upcoming Legislative Committee meeting. Item number 1, and what happened here is we had started this process back in '23. I think last time we were before legislative committee was September '23. And I think somehow every time the onion gets peeled, a different layer is exposed. So somewhere between myself and the clerk, probably the clerk, the ball got dropped to send it to commission because we talked about it in public safety. We talked about it in this committee. So we're bringing it back so it can be finally finalized. But item number one is the updating of the city building permit fee schedule to the industry standard, which is the Unified Building Code 1997. And the rationale is the city has had an undervalued permit fee schedule for many years. The city fee schedule has been out of alignment with other local municipalities and the state of Michigan. The formal adoption of the UBC 97-1A fee schedule will ensure the city is using the industrial standard for billing permit fees. The number two, which is actually related, which we did do. So basically what we did was we did B and forgot about A. So we are already in line with the ICC, that's the International Code Council Building Valuation Data Table that aligns with UBC 97, which is basically the way to calculate the calculation by square footage. So we have that. I have in here an actually example of fees to kind of give you an idea, just a snapshot to give you how kind of far outdated we've been. If you look at the second page where it says example of fee schedules or discrepancies, you can see that, say, for example, an amount of $101,000. Currently, Ben Harbor would charge $1,055.18. However, the UBC would be $1,658, which is a $602 difference, et cetera. So you can see, especially as the amounts get larger, the bigger the deficit that we have. So we just want to be in line with not only our other municipalities, but also the standard for the state of Michigan. And there's also some attachments here for that. With that, I will pass it on to Deputy Director Kazmierzak that will discuss that, as well as the updating of other fees that we have needing updating. And some fees, you'll notice, we have not collected in my lifetime. So we want to make sure that we are capturing all that we need to, and that there is a fee schedule that it's I get sidetracked real easy with distractions. Comes on the scale. I'm gonna stop. Go.
So one of the things, speaking with the clerk, is with the fee schedule, what we would do is remove it from ordinance, because right now it's an ordinance, and then just set an annual adoption, which is pretty much what every other city and municipality around us do. They annually adopt their fee schedules, whether it be the building code or the building fees, which very seldom change. UBC 97 was adopted in 1997, so you can see that there's been very little change to that. Or other, fees as necessary. And this kind of goes a little bit hand in hand with what Mr. Little's trying to do with parking fees and trash fees as well, but we didn't tackle that project, that's on him. But would somehow go hand in hand. Correct, clerk? That would be all that fee schedule eventually. So, basically with the building fees, we've been losing money for several years. The director addressed that. It would bring us in comparison with everybody else around us, Benton Township, St. Joe Township, City of St. Joe, all the other municipalities. And then that helps cover our building permit, or our building inspector, our electrical inspector, those salaries that we're paying anyways. And it covers, and that's what those fees are meant to do, is cover the fees of the employees of the building department. We talked, the ICC has already been adopted, so I don't think we need to spend any time on that. The other one then is the fee schedule on the back, and these fees are from various chapters of the ordinances. And there's been a lot of these fees that we just started collecting, even though they've been in ordinance. When I took over code compliance in 2024, hadn't been collected in years. So, for example, lottery machines, jukeboxes, et cetera, it's current fee is $50 a year. That hadn't been collected. Last year was the first year we've been invoiced for that. The alcohol beverage fees, we actually found out today, Most of our alcoholic beverage providers have not paid their fees yet, even for 2024 when we ran a report. So these are fees that, they're required to have a license by the city. They're making a lot of money off the city residents, and we need to enforce these fees. And we have a new invoice system. We have an entirely new system, so this will never happen again, but it has happened in the past. And then there's just a lot of the other ones there, on there that, we've had in line. Gas stations, they have an annual fee for the gas station plus an annual pump fee. Pool halls, rental registrations. For example, the rental registration, what does that cover? Well, that covers the input of the data, that covers the rental inspection, that covers rental re-inspections, those type of things. The other piece that we have in all of this is right now we have very little teeth if no one pays a fee. There's very, very little penalty. So, and going back to like the building permit, the penalty we propose is double the fee. Now, that fee would be, for residents, the first time would be waived, but for contractors, it would be automatic, because a contractor should know that. There is no reason. A resident is apt to make a mistake, not even know it, and we want to work with the residents, but a contractor who's making money off of our residents, that fee needs to be enforced. So I guess I'll open it up to questions. There's a lot to interpret there, and that's why today this is just discussion. We wanted to bring this up for discussion. Director, anything I forgot?
No, you hit it. One of the problems that we've had for years is, I think last week, didn't we come across some rental properties that weren't even registered with us or had been registered ever? So we have a lot of people that come in and violate our city of Benton Harbor, and we haven't had any teeth to penalize them for that. You just can't come into Benton Harbor and do what you want to do. I'm not going to get on my soapbox for that. However, we are now proposing fees that did not exist. So like you said, our code compliance is, back under Commissioner Henry's leadership, is we want compliance. That's why we changed the name of the department. However, if you come from the outside, you're going to respect the city, and you just can't do what you want to do. So it's been very difficult because we have not had any teeth in order to hold people accountable, and they know that. So that's important.
Yeah, I want to build off that because we came across something this weekend on a call, and that's how we find a lot of these, as on fire calls, et cetera. And Friday, we found a family living in a house in the city. There's no carpet in the house. There's very little furniture. The house is falling down around them. And this landlord lives in $1 million house on Lake Michigan and is non-compliant. Hasn't paid their rental fees, hasn't registered their rental, none of that. So these people, this is a quality of life issue. This is about, number one, life safety, because obviously we don't want to go to another fatal fire. We've had 10 fire fatalities in rental properties in 5 years in Benton Harbor. That number should hit everybody in the face. So it's life safety, but it's also quality of life about our citizens. We have landlords taking advantage of our citizens, the citizens of Benton Harbor, and that's what we can't have.
So I really think that it's definitely time for the city of Benton Harbor to stop being taken advantage of. I mean, if every other town in our area has a standard fee, I don't see why we would be any lower. I know we need the money, so I think that's kind of a no-brainer. I do really appreciate how you all have taken the citizens of Benton Harbor into consideration with waiving, the residents issue if the resident didn't know. So I appreciate you all thinking about that piece. But in general, I think it's the only common sense thing to do is to, hold our city at the same standard that every other city or town around here has, and it's time to stop the contractors and, the millionaire landlords from taking advantage of the city of Benton Harbor.
I'd like to add one comment.
Okay, Mr. Little, please.
And it's not a profit thing, it's more fully recouping the cost of providing the service, of doing these inspections and follow-ups and so forth, to enable us to protect our citizens.
Ms. Shawanda?
I'm like speechless, being that I am a citizen representative, to see that these fees, this has, like you said, there's no teeth. And you hear all these complaints about housing, but nothing, you can't really, I'm just speechless, but I personally approve it, excited to see that it's going forth and the way that it's written. And if you just, from the first illustration, when you showed that, like, the difference of what you're collecting to what you should be collecting, the difference in that, and yet we don't have money, is just speechless.
I think Mr. Duncan had his hand up first. Are you okay with Miss? Okay, Commissioner Henry.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's time that we do what we have to do. And thank you guys for seeing those changes being needed. Where, I want to know, where does this money go? You said, the city manager said it'll take care of costs. I know we have inspection. I know we have some other people that are on contract for inspection. So, and I believe, from my memory, a lot of this fees will be going to the contractor. Am I correct or not?
These fees will go into the general fund, and from there, the costs are paid for all of the activities of inspection, including the contract inspector. Right now, what happens, people get paid anyway, but they're not, the revenue is not coming in to cover it, so it's being pulled from other sources.
So you're telling me that the contractors are not getting paid, or they're getting paid by the hour through general fund? What are you telling me? Let me kind of understand how the citizen, whoever's paying, and then where that money, you saying going to general fund. So I need to know, because I just have to go back to my memory how these guys got hired, and
How they got hired doesn't have that much to do with it. What I'm saying is that if you send an inspector out to do 5 inspections in a day, they're gonna get paid what they're entitled to, regardless of whether revenue comes back from the inspections. If it's, general fund pools the revenue. It may be tax money that's paying it because you're not getting the full cost. But go ahead.
Excuse me, I can help out a little bit, Commissioner. So here's how it works. So let's just take a bigger project, like $50,000 or more, or 100,000. As you know, we have a ton of projects coming to the city. So when that project comes, the first place it has to go is to the what's Lowell? Has to go through the zoning administrator. So he sits down and goes over zoning, compares the project, looks at plans and gives an okay if it's good to go. Sometimes it might need to go to planning. Sometimes it's just, it doesn't need to go to planning. It's good to go right there. So in that process, Loyal's going to go there probably no less than 3 times. Additionally, you have the building official that also goes, he's the one responsible for holding contracts responsible. So he's going to go there, anywhere from 3 to 6 times. So you have that cost in there. Additionally, remember, it has to touch Public Works, Fire Department, Police. So ultimately, like Abin Marsh is our civil engineer. That project goes to their hands, so they have to be paid. The problem we've been having is that the city has been paying these costs but not recouping them. So, and then it has to go to the clerk and then the city manager to review, and then she makes copies, it comes here. So those are the hands that it touches of the professionals of these projects. So the fees are just a portion of the contract that the homeowner has with the contractors. They get paid whatever they get paid, But these are the fees that help us cover all those steps that we now have in place that we didn't have in place. So I think Mr. Little's done a great job of setting everything up. So those are the hands that it goes through, and that's just on a simple project, Mr. Little. So I can bounce it back to him if he has something he want to add to that. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that gives me a lot of understanding in it. But
Director-
what I would like to do for,
I'm sorry, Ms. Commissioner Henry, Director K wanted to add something.
I just wanted to add, corner of Wall Street, the new grocery store apartment building going at Wall and Colfax. I alone have 8 hours of plan review just so far in that. So that's just my time. That's not zoning, that's not building. And then once it's built, we'll have walkthroughs. The fire guys will be doing walkthroughs throughout the process. They'll have finals. So, I mean, the amount of hours, man hours alone that goes into this are pretty incredible.
okay.
I know, like Project T, this probably city manager alone has about 3 months of vacation time if you were the time he's put into it. So he counts also.
Well, those are not contractors. You guys work for the city. You have benefits but I'm talking about the 3 or 4 contractors. I would like to see their contract, how much money they're going to pull off of each job, because I just like to be able to verify where this money is going and how much these contractors are pulling out. I understand staff and all the mechanisms that we have to do to get a project on the ground and finish, but I'm only talking about the contractors. I'd like more information on them to verify their salary.
If I could share an observation, and I think you've seen it on, because I noticed several times you've asked questions on the bill list about their payments. We're probably not paying as much as if they were employees, because we're not paying benefits on them.
I
Yeah.
know that, because when we decided to take them on as contractors, we figured out that they would not be getting benefits. I just want to make sure that we, as elected officials, know exactly what these contracts say and how much money they are pulling in for jobs. And the other question I wanted to ask about is inspections for rental and commercial, rental and residential. Can somebody give me an understanding of those fees and why they're set at that amount? Is that what the state of Michigan requires?
No, those initial fees were actually set by the emergency manager back in 2013. They haven't been changed since 2013.
Emergency manager.
Commissioner, I can say as far as the research for our fees for this, and this is the last page. This is a work in progress, but we have gone out and we've gotten every municipality in Berrien County. We also got comparables from Muskegon Heights, and I think those we got. There's another one. So we've done.
I'm just teasing.
So we've done our due diligence to know what the Berrien County average is, and then also, again, we are very, very close to Muskegon. We've got a lot of stuff from them, and we got a kind of good relationship with them. So we try to make sure we're not just making these numbers up off the top of our head. We try to see what our comparables look like and what Berrien County looks like.
I got you. Just having a problem with the commercial and the residential. I got it. This is the first time I'm seeing it, so I'll kind of do some research on that. I just want everything to be. I don't want to price us out of anything or let anyone come in and abuse us anymore. So I'll just look at that. But on the mowing abatement, I see you went up to $250 for the abatement. It was $200. Is there a reason why that $50 is on there cost, gas cost? What is the reason for it? We didn't go up on our contractors. We're not doing it ourselves, so.
I can speak to that also. So this is kind of the first time we're kind of presenting this. We still need to get back. This is not the final because I agree with you. So the $200, if you recall, was putatively set by the second EM.
Right.
So, and actually he wasn't here when we had that. So then Mr. Little still has to put his hands on it in his mind. So this is not the end all be all, but that very same point you made, I made also to Mr. Little. So give us some time because we want to go back through with the city manager and the chair's permission back through our committee because we're going to be bouncing a lot of things back and forth between our committee, this committee, and I think possibly finance. So that your concern is already on the table.
Okay, all right.
And if I might, I'd like to add something. One of the things that I'm concerned with doing that hasn't been done in the past, at least recent past, is to look at all of the different parts and so forth that go into these services. When we're talking about, for example, this fee on the lots and so forth when we're abating them, there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of trips back and forth. There's recording with the county, putting it on the tax rolls if the people don't pay it. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scene that basically gets unpaid for. And I understand how that has occurred, especially when you get a period where you've had like these city managers. A perfect example. When someone comes in and fills out the form for site plan review and so forth on a development project, printed on the front of that form is something like $1,400 and then some other small amount. And when I got here, I noticed that people were paying the $1,400 and thinking that they were through. And good grief, we have people reviewing the work and whatnot. If we send it over to Avonmarsh to do an engineering review, there's a significant cost that goes with it. If we have somebody else, maybe even the assessor involved in part of it, there's a cost. When we were doing the project with Project T, we were using McKenna to help review part of that. Those other costs outside of that $1,400 ran over $10,000. Now, that would have been coming out of the city's money and we would have been going in the hole had I not placed a provision on it that they would pay the cost for these outside reviews and so forth. So even with the $1,400 and them paying for the outside reviews, we still lost money. And that's what the city has got to get out of the business of doing. We got to provide adequate, proper, quality service, and we've got to recoup the cost of it. Because you as a taxpayer at your house, that money should be paying for your police service, fire service, not for the inspection on a development project. It should pay for itself.
Okay, so thank you for giving us that information, Mr. Little. So based on what the chief has said, this is a work in progress. So what I would suggest everyone do, if you are looking at this chart, I mean, there's a lot of lines on here, and anyone who wants to pick it apart and do your own personal research, I think you have the time to do that because we're going to end up moving this back to public safety. So I don't want to take up hours and hours going line by line, but if everyone has a copy and you want to look at this, you have the time to look at it, research it, and write your comments down because the chief did say this is a work in progress. Commissioner Henry, can I move on to other questions, or are you?
Yes, I'm through with.
Okay.
He answered they answered most of my questions.
Okay, so I saw Mr. Duncan's hand. He's really into ladies first. So does anyone else want to go? Or should we have Mr. Duncan go ahead and ask? You're up, Mr. Duncan.
Question, 1 second. collect this money, but you have to have everybody's approval to do it. That's question number one. I think you guys are gonna get it. So after you get the approval, how soon will you guys go after collecting these funds from people what owe the city? So you guys can get paid. We just need the city commission's approval, and once that's done, we will immediately begin to apply the new schedule. So how long does it take to get the city's commission's approval? Well, that's kind of up to the
Well, in
commission.
this case, the chief had mentioned that this is still a work in progress. So before we can send it on to the commission, we have to get the final numbers. So do you feel like after the next public safety meeting, we'll be at a place where it can be sent to the full commission, chief, or?
I think it's possible, but it's ultimately, Mr. Little's got he has to go that line by line. Yeah. So I would almost probably say maybe at least, probably, well, I can't speak for him. A couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's about what I figured, a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions regarding this topic? Okay, and if, I don't know if I would say it or you would say it, Tiffany, but we want to move it back to public safety.
If not sooner.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Next, we have public comments. So there is none. We are going to go ahead and, if you I have to move for adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone, for coming out, and we'll see you soon.